Alright, so this is the part of the product review where we're going to show basically what most people know is the existing Airstream steps, though there is a couple variations depending on what year of Airstream that you have. This is a 2022, so I'm going to show you what the existing steps look like so we can kind of have a before and after, and then I'm going to talk about some of the things I really don't like about the OEM steps. They are good. They're slick, and you know, they have a lot of advantages because they do pop down quick, but there's a lot of disadvantages as well, so let's talk about that. So the way that these steps work, and Chrissy's going to help me here with holding the camera so I can manipulate this, is they fold up underneath here, and then when you want to, and they do contour to the silhouette, and they tuck up really nice, so that is a good advantage to them. Let me put him inside. Wiley's in the shot as usual because he's always curious what we're doing. And the way that you deploy these is you basically just pull this and they fall down. So you have to know what you're doing, or you can run this into you. So there's a little bit of that as well. And then when they are down, then you can have just a one-step setup, or you can basically fold this out here and then lift up on this. Now this is the disadvantage because this has got a little bit tight, and you have to use kind of a special lubricant for them called Boat Shield. And as you can see here, now I have this folded down. They're a little bit tight. They can get kind of junky pretty quick, so that is a disadvantage to them. And then now, as you can see, I'm kind of in a odd position here to step up, and something's not quite right here. There, maybe that's it right there. So I'm not trying to make light. I think I got it that time. Okay. Wow. They're not locking out like they're supposed to. There we go. Okay, now I got them down. So as these hinges do get some corrosion and road grime on them, and then as you can see now I got some lubricant on my hands from the necessary amount of lubricant that you got to keep on these, so all these little hinges will stay lubricated. And now I can go up, but you can see, you know, it's kind of like we really don't need this step. Then we step in, but it's a pretty high step if you only put one of the steps out. So there's really no in between. And then I weigh like 184 pounds. But one of the things that's always concerning about these for folks that do weigh more than that is the fact that there's a lot of stress on the metal here. And so there is some aftermarket products that will brace this and push it back in there, but that's also one more step and one more item that you have to carry with you. And there is a lot of potential for failure because of that, because there's so much, you know, leverage here. Now these, you know, a lot of people have a lot of success with these, but like I said, if you're a larger individual, you know, it can be a little intimidating going in and out of these all the time because it is flexing it so much, and you know that they are. And just like I showed before, you're not really sure if it's actually deployed correctly. These screws also have been known to come out, and some people really suggest that you tighten these up occasionally, so that is another downside. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you is storing it back. So if you don't know what you're doing here, this can make you really look silly, because it's kind of a maneuvering act as you fold it over here. And if I was to ask Chrissy to do this right now, she probably would not have been able to do it. Now she's seen how it's done now, so it's not that big of a deal. But if I should have maybe started with asking her to unfold the steps, and maybe she would have got it, maybe not, because there is a lot of things that you can do it wrong. You know what I mean? If you don't unfold them the correct way. The other thing that can happen too is when you fold them up, if you don't push down on this lever because this is spring loaded, this may not catch, and so what will happen is going down the road, or maybe you only put it like that. Well, that's not the stored position, and you hit a bump, and these can fall out, and then you're not going to be aware of that. So I'm always nervous when I'm storing these, that I need to press in on these like that to make sure that they're stored correctly. And there's just like a little spring in here, and you know, maybe down the road that's going to lose tension and may not hold them up in there. So a lot of things that can go wrong with this type of setup. But we're going to see firsthand what the advantages of the new steps are. I can't speak to that yet because we haven't received them yet, and but that's why we're doing all this, is to kind of make a note of how we've interacted with the existing steps and limitations and the challenges with them, and then how some of those problems are maybe fixed or maybe just a better product and more confidence, especially, you know, with people that do way more than myself, that are taller, and you know, 6 foot person is going to weigh more than 184 pounds. So all right, there it is. All right, so we have a little bit of a change of scenery now for this Torklift International Airstream step. And just to clarify, we are doing the 2-step model. And I might have mentioned that before when we were there in Destin, which has been a little while back. Back then it was kind of, you know, talking about the advantages and disadvantages, which you just seen. And since then we had taken delivery of the set of steps. And they come in a pretty small box overall, so it's not something that's too hard to get to your front door. Also, they don't weigh much, so if you're worried about them weighing too much, it is going to be something where I might get some assistance on putting them underneath there. But let me talk about, because you know, I ramble on, and I want you to hopefully be encouraged that this is going to be a video that's going to help you out with installing, and then how my video, I expect to do it differently than the other videos that I've seen. Nothing against those videos, but just different than those videos, in adding a few things that I thought is going to be very necessary. So I'm not going to give you that big parts list just yet, because what I want to do as far as tools list, I meant to say materials list, tools list. What I want to do is actually complete the installation and then make you a very accurate list. But that is where I'm going to put that list in right now. And I'm gonna leave it on the screen for a little bit so you can pause it and take note of maybe what you might want to get to purchase, and also what you want to have on hand as far as tools. And that leads me to, I guess, a little bit of criticism of like the other videos that I've watched, because I couldn't find any videos whatsoever that basically gave you the assortment of wrenches that you need. And I'm away from home, or other home I should say, and so I don't have my tool chest of tools that I can pretty much do what I want to do, and so I had to go buy some individual Allen head sockets and wrenches, and some of these will probably end up going back because I have no clue and you can't get to it, and you can't find the information anywhere, so including in the instructions. So I am being a little bit critical of the instructions. They're pretty limited. They do give you like your parts list. They kind of tell you how to go about, you know, step by step, but not really step by step. So the instructions are lacking. I'd like to see them, you know, basically do a better job of the instructions. Would be nice if they did. And then I always think it's kind of nice to maybe, you know, make a statement somewhere in the instructions that says, hey, if you found something that you did that was helpful maybe to others, can you submit it to us? And I'm sure they do take that information, but I just would like to see it encouraged. In fact, my idea would be to basically have them encourage people to do it, and then give you like a coupon code if they in fact reply back to you and say, hey, that was a good idea, or that was some information that the instructions were lacking, and we're going to reward you for that by giving you a coupon code for your next purchase from us, because they do make several Airstream products, and I think, you know, that would be a good opportunity for both the user of the product and also for you to buy future products from them. So basically, that's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you some detailed information. This will probably be a pretty lengthy install. The other videos, they got kind of lengthy too, but once again, there was no sockets or any wrench sizes whatsoever. So I'll put those up on the screen. There was one where some of the wrenches were mentioned in sizes, and I was able to purchase those specifically, but the Allen heads were not. So, all right. So some of the things that you do want to have on hand after I made that list for you and put it up there is, we're going to go ahead and stage in this first step we're gonna go ahead and stage some things. We got all of our tools out and we got our shop vac because we are gonna have metal shavings on the ground. I am gonna be fighting this dripping here. So I might end up like grabbing a bucket or something and putting it underneath there. That way I'm not lying in water. But that is gonna be dropping off, so that's gonna be fun. But I would be wet anyways. It's a hot, humid day here in Florida. So, and then like some knee cushions and stuff like that, being wherever you're working. So yep, I'm gonna get this in this first step here. What we're gonna do is we are gonna basically get our citrus degreaser here, and we're gonna take the citrus degreaser and our tape, and we're gonna go ahead and mark off with a Sharpie after putting the tape on there exactly where we are gonna be drilling. So I'll get that done and taped off and show you that, and then I'll show you the next. All right, so in this step, what I have done is I have utilized this clear grid, but you could use just a measuring tape as well. And then I use my hole saw here that I have, and I'll list that in the I'll basically put that in there so that you know which one I use. Hopefully it works out good. And but yeah, I'll be using it here in a second, so I'll know. And this hole saw is based on the plastic access panels that you're going to see here, which is also a change than you're going to see in other installations. So in another video I seen where the guy had basically made this hole and it scuffed off. So that masking tape works really good to kind of keep that from happening whenever you're drilling with a hole saw into metal. But I'm going to pre-drill the center hole, so that kind of gives me a guide right away. I could like center punch it or something like that, but and maybe I will just center punch it and to keep it, but it should drill in there first, and if it starts to walk off, I'll center punch it or pre-drill the hole so that it doesn't. So I don't know what kind of hole saw they used, but it didn't work out very good. But yep, that's where we're at. Now the rivets that they speak of, they're talking about these rivets here to the left. They want you to go 2 inches. So definitely continue to follow your factory instructions as well. But they want you to measure 2 inches off from these rivets over here, so that way you don't get too close to the step or the support beam where the step actually mounts to. So that's pretty important. All right, so for the first hiccup here, I decided to share with you. This drill hole saw was a little bit cheaper than a lot of them that you can find on there, and it's a pretty lightweight material, so that's why I kind of went cheap. But yeah, I've already snapped this off. I kind of wasn't holding it as steady as I should have. But the reason why I bring this up is, and I'll just basically feed a new bit in there is what I'm going to do. But the reason why I bring this up is that pre-drilling this hole would have probably prevented this. And this is just like a guide to basically keep the hole saw from, walking all over the place. But yeah, definitely pre-drill the hole. All right, so that went pretty good, and I'm gonna take my masking tape off. Now you can see like where I didn't have the masking tape, where it actually did scuff it off. It's probably not that way on the other sections, and so yeah, it's just a hole. Yeah, nothing too fancy, but I do want to show you something here that we're getting ready to install. And I do apologize for the shaky camera work. It's just going to be that way. I hope you don't mind it and you find the value in it. But so this, I'm watching all these videos, and I just want to say, having cut my middle finger tendon in half, and sorry to get so graphic, but maybe I need to, just for safety's sake, definitely be wearing some safety goggles, and definitely be wearing like some gloves, you know what I mean? Especially if you're not used to using like power tools and working around sheet metal and whatnot. I bring all this up because in a previous video, the guy actually like had cut marks, like on, like abrasions on his, wrists, and actually said, hey, I need to be wearing some gloves. And I'm thinking, yeah, you definitely need to be wearing some gloves. You do not want to be putting your hand in fresh cut sheet metal up in there, and that's what he was doing. And then he kind of like realized, like, yeah, this is probably not a good plan. You got all your arteries, right across your wrist. Most people know that, and you don't want to be doing that. So you can make a simple project into a lengthy ER visit. and or even rehab for that. In my case, that's what it was. It was like a $10,000 mistake. So hopefully that put a little bit of the fear in you to be safe. But here's the difference. So these are these access covers. They use them in marine applications, or you'll see them in kayaks a lot, and they screw down, and they hold pretty good because they got like an O-ring, you know, that kind of keeps it watertight and stuff like that. But this is what we're going to be putting on there next, and I'm obviously the verdict's not out, but I'd kind of almost like to see this be either option or just standard, like, you know, because of the safety risks that I'm talking about. Now they give you like basically, you know, the black covers that you screw on there that you're going to find in your kit, and that is definitely a cheaper way to do things, but maybe not. You know, like if these black covers that they have to have made are actually, you know, more expensive than this Chinese part. Now I'll put this, I bought them in a 2-pack. I will put this up on the screen for your Amazon description. I don't have links, so don't go into the extended description of the video, because there's no links anywhere for any of this stuff. You're going to have to basically search it, you know, in Amazon. And but we're going to install this next. There is some screws. I'll show you this once this is installed. And like I said, this is it's totally different. So we'll see how this works out. So here's the screws that I'm using. They're stainless steel, and this is you know, just a Makita 1/4-inch impact. I ended up not having the right metric size Allen head for these button screws, and so I'm just using a Torx bit. That's how easy these screws go in there. Now I just want to say, like, when you're using these screws, like, and this hasn't happened because I knew, you know, like, there's no material here, right? It's just very thin aluminum is what you're working with. And so when you go in there, you want it just kind of seize down until it gets tight, but don't go crazy, because, you know, you're just going to strip it, and then these screws aren't going to hold. But they're actually, I'm really happy. They're like the perfect length. So what I'm going to do is I'll get all these installed, and then I'll just show you with the cover on it real quick. And but yeah, this is working out pretty good. I think this is going to be perfect. And the hole saw was the perfect size as well. Just had to kind of give it a little bit of encouragement going in there, but it does go in there just fine. And in the worst case scenario, if you had a Dremel, you could put like a little metal, you know, Dremel on there and kind of open the hole up if maybe you got boogered in one of the areas or whatever. So if you have problems, it's not going to take much. Just look for maybe an irregularity, and or you could use a file for that matter. All right, so I'm going to show you this finished product in case I don't show it to you later, but this is what you end up getting. And this is going to be a lot safer. These hold pretty tight in there. Like, you know, I can manipulate this with one hand maybe. Yep. So, you know, with that O-ring, it does like kind of compress. But now the benefit is when I go up in here with my wrenches, this is a protected surface all the way around. In fact, it's got enough of a lip. Now, I don't know how much this is going to restrict me from, you know, getting up there and getting the Allen head to this existing step, but we'll find out if it works out pretty good. All right, so this first bolt that we're going to take out is in fact a 7/32. I thought it was a 1/4 inch, but it is the one that is in the back. So I put a headlamp in there and pointed it up towards the bolt that I need to take out. They call them like a shoulder bolt. So that's what we're going to do first. So there's your first clue, is instead of going through all your Allen sockets to figure out what size that bolt is, this one on a 2022 is actually a 23-footer is actually a 7/32. And I would imagine all of them are the same as far as the newer style of steps for the kit that you actually bought. So 7/32 is what you need. So yeah, I'm preaching safety and everything else, and scraped the crap out of my finger here. Still bleeding a little bit, but luckily, I mean, it could have been worse. So what happened was when you get in there, what I didn't expect was I was just going to loosen that bolt, but it just snapped loose like in a hurry, like with all this energy, and then my hand went to the plastic, up against the plastic ring in a hurry of that, and so yeah, that's going to cut you, and so it did. So these are cut gloves. These are A6 cut gloves. It's always good to have a set of these around, and you should use them whenever you're putting your hands where you don't know where there's sharp objects, or you're going to be taking a bolt loose. So Just wanted to include this because I was preaching safety, and literally I didn't expect that to snap loose like it did. And there's just a lot of energy, you know, on those, and they're corroded. And hopefully you don't have too hard a time because there's not much room, or hard a time taking out because there's not much room to work in there. And hopefully your rig's not too old, or you live in a salty area that will corrode it even heavier. All right, so I think these are actually a little bit easier to access, possibly when they're down. I had them in the upright position. So there's one that you're going to be getting from the inside, and then your second one you're going to get from the outside, meaning inside the steps. So I know that's confusing. One's going to be, you're going to have to go through the hole. The other one's right here. But the reason why I wanted to kind of take this extra moment to talk about, if you see my hammer over there, if you do put your wrench up in there and you don't want to like put your hand in there and then do like I did, I slipped. Well, actually I didn't slip, it just let loose in a sudden bit. And once you break them loose, man, they just want to come right out of there. Like you can't even get your ratchet, so you're gonna have to take them out by hand. At least that was my case, and it may not be yours if they're overly dirty. But what I was getting at was, if you take your hammer, once you get your wrench seated in there and in the right position, you can actually take the handle end of your hammer and just kind of push up on it with both hands outside of the hole. And I wish I could demonstrate it for you, but it's already happened and both of them are loose now. But yeah, just basically have the butt end or the handle end of your hammer pushing up against that wrench, so that your hand doesn't have to be up in there and, you know, waiting for this thing to break loose on you. It's easier to do it too, because you can't hardly get any leverage because you're like on the ground and your hand's up in there. It's just kind of a weird, awkward position. So that seemed to work out pretty good. So this is what your two sets of screws look like, just so you know. And this one in the back here is the one that you use the Allen head. You have to use the Allen head for this one too. This is the closest to the side, closest to you as you look at it. And then you'll need a 9/16 wrench, open-ended wrench. And I'll show you, as I'll move over here kind of slow, not to make you too dizzy. When you come in here, first off, put a moving blanket down too, because that is going to come in handy, especially later. You're going to have to kind of wiggle your wrench in there to get access to capture that nut that's on the outside, and then your Allen head, of course, is on the inside. So it's kind of opposite of the way the rear one is. The next thing that we're going to do is I think these two wrenches, I'll give you the sizes. There's just like a nut and a bolt that holds this spring-loaded catch in. So we're going to take that out. So that's what we're going to do next. I bent that a little bit over there, but that's going to be easily straightened out, so no big deal there at all. So yep, next step. So one more thing, so I don't forget. Those nuts are going to actually fall off into the compartment that we made access to. So make sure to go up in there with your gloves on and retrieve those nuts, so they're just not bouncing around in there. So you should have this hardware, all of this hardware, to put aside in case you want to keep your steps, just in case, right? You never know, right? So yep, make sure to retrieve those nuts. So to take the tension bar, or the catch, the catch bar, which is this part right here, to take that off, it's going to be just basically 2 bolts, one on each side, and the nut on the back side is going to be a 7/16. Never mind that. It's both the bolt head and the nut are both 7/16 on the lock nut. So you're going to need a 7/16 open-ended wrench to find your way into this little access here. And so catch it on that side, and with the open-ended wrench, and then take your socket wrench over here. Now, as you can see, I keep things sprayed down pretty good underneath my trailer, but this is kind of one of those things where it's always getting rubbed. And so this is a perfect time, and that's why I've put in the material list and the tool list that you need a can of Krylon paint, and that's where you're going to utilize this now. And as you can see, that stuff bends pretty easily. The good news is, and I kind of boogered a little bit trying to take that catch out of there, that catch bar out of there, and because it just wasn't coming out. And they even tell you, like in the instructions, that you might have to trim this stuff a little bit to gain better access or to get your catch bar out of there, because all this is assembled when they put what they call the banana wrap, which is this the black trim on the bottom of an Airstream. It's called banana wrap for some reason, but that's its nickname. And but you might have to trim it a little bit. I have some tin snips. I might clean that up, but the good news is, to finish my thought, is they do include trim that we're going to show here in a little bit that covers all of that. So I think I'll take my pliers, kind of straighten it up a little bit, and then that'll be the end of it. All right, so we have the underneath of the Airstream all touched up with the Krylon paint, and so we're just waiting for that to kind of dry. I got Wiley out here helping because the fumes are a little strong inside, so he's whining because he'd rather be in the AC. Yeah, you're whining. He'd rather be in the AC. But I did want to show you, if I while Chrissy's inside getting me some more water so I stay hydrated, I wanted to show you like this next step of the instructions. So we're going to be using that 7/32 Allen head ratchet once again, and that will be for both sets of bolts, the pan head and the button head, both. And then we're going to be using a 9/16 wrench that we'll be utilizing, in both cases, we'll be utilizing it inside the compartment to capture the lock nut. So it's pretty obvious, like if you look at the steps itself, they have you deploy them, meaning like, so you're going to lift up on your release bar over here where my foot is. Sorry about the foot action there. Then you're going to slide those out, and this is where really kind of having somebody help you hold it up while, or basically prop it up in some way so it suspends this while you get your hand up there to put the bolt through and then the nut. So I'm gonna have Chrissy help me do that. Should probably use that step stool, and maybe we'll use some moving blankets underneath it to get it closer to the position so she doesn't have to hold the entire amount of weight, which they're not heavy, they're just awkward, especially when they're extended like this. So these in the back here, it's kind of hard to see because of the reflection. That has a smooth hole, meaning that it's not countersunk. And then the front set, or the set that's outward of the Airstream, let me look here. Yeah, you can see them there. Those are the ones where the countersunk bolts are going to go. So we're gonna put the button heads back there, and then we'll use the countersunk holes or bolts right there. So pretty easy installation in that regard. It might be a little bit interesting as far as getting the wrench up in there, but it's not going to snap loose and try to get you like the other side did. So yeah, we're getting close to having this thing completed. All right, so I showed you basically the idea of where those bolts were going to go, and I showed you how they're going to go. And so I wanted to share this detail with you because I know the one video that I watched, the guy kind of struggled with getting this in here by himself, and understandably so, it's awkward. But there is a couple things to keep in mind that actually makes it really pretty easy, and I think you could do it by yourself, depending on your ability. So if you look up in there, and I'll grab a flashlight here, and this is actually worth the time to emphasize this because this is probably one of the more sections where it's more intimidating. But let me go underneath here actually and film this. So if you see, first off, keep in mind that the alignment of this is such that this bar that you see, that's part of the Airstream originally, and everything looks good, right? Because I got done spray painting it, so it looks all clean and fresh. That notches around that bar. So there's your reference there, and it pretty much sits all the way at the ceiling of this step void. But if you take the far right and top stainless steel button head that you see there, that is the bolt that goes into this. If you stage these bolts, because there's like a shoulder on this, like where they reinforced it to make sure it was going to last for years and not give you trouble. It's kind of a shameless plug there, but this thing is well built. I will definitely say it's well built. And then the countersunk one, if you stage those where those screws are not all the way in, but they're actually not protruding beyond the frame of the step here, and you do this on both sides, you can literally get underneath there and kind of like hold this above your belly and push it up in there, and then just push these screws in one by one. You know, it's going to kind of require you to be able to kind of like bench this a little bit, but you can take one hand or like your arm, your forearm, and support it, and then, you know, push each one of these in to that slot, and then now it's suspended, so it's literally up, you know, holding itself. So now the next step will be to go into our access holes that we made, and with our gloves, and just to be on the safe side, and we'll go in there and put our washer and then the nut on all 4 of these, and then we'll put a wrench to it, and then we'll start using our Allen heads ratchet and the wrench to tighten everything down. So that's the next step. So we are definitely getting there. Yeah, that's a little tedious because you don't have very much room to you know, throw your ratchet back and forth. And one of the problems that was if you don't have a good quality ratchet with a lot of teeth, I recommend, or even one that is infinitely, you know, adjustable, because a good quality ratchet will make a big difference in this application. And also a short-handled 3/8 drive ratchet will be, you know, I don't know if you'd want to use like a stubby, because I think a stubby would, maybe initially you could use a stubby, but these lock nuts are a little, they're pretty aggressive lock nuts, which is good, obviously, because you don't want any of this coming loose. And as you can see, they use like quality hardware. Looks like grade 8 bolts there at the top, so they're very wise about which hardware. You know, this is indicative of a USA either made or based company where they're speccing things to last. And so the next step that we have is basically to cover these ugly cut, you know, holes there from the factory. We're going to use some trim that they include, and that's going to be, just as an instruction says, we're going to use a 1/4 inch drill bit to drill the holes. So I'll show you those installed. This is what they look like going back over to our work table. This is what they look like pre-hand. So what we'll do is we'll push them up there, we'll drill our 2 holes where they need to be, and then these are basically just like plastic rivets, so that you push in and then you like snap off the stems. So pretty simple to do that. So that's what we're doing next. All right, so I want to reference where this trim goes, just to make it easier on you. The like tab, like ear, that goes to the inside, and then just tuck it right underneath your door frame. There's a plastic rivet inserted there. I'm going to do one, insert that, and then do the other. That's kind of what I recommend doing, like drill 1 hole and saw it that way, to you don't have to like try to keep it in place and make sure they match your holes up and all that. So we're going to use just a small hammer, tap that in there, and then trim it off with a pair of dikes, diagonal cutters. All right, so most of you that have watched any of my videos know that I'm a huge fan, it's getting hot, of this fluid film, and it is just awesome for just keeping your things from rusting. It is going to be one of our steps, and the reason why I'm showing it to you now, I'm going to do basically pull the steps out and kind of like lube the areas that I know. Once I pull the steps out, I'm going to spray all the way up into here, all the metal, any of the carriage, any of the stuff that I don't think that my feet are going to end up making contact with. And so this is kind of at your discretion, because this stuff does get kind of greasy, right, as it gets contaminated, and you definitely don't want to drag that in on your carpet. So do be cautious. But one place that I'm going to put it is up in this cavity. I'm kind of going to fog it up in there and kind of, you know, hit around a little bit with it, just to, you know, keep your Airstream going down the road as long as you can, because you see a lot of them that are rusted out. So and then we're going to put our cap on, so don't forget to do that as well. So we're definitely getting right to the end here. All right, so the plastic rivets, not a fan of those. So we're just gonna go ahead and drive some self-tappers up in there. These are like zinc plated self-tappers. I think I have the link, so I'll try to find the link on these. But I'm just gonna drive them in there underneath where you can't see them. And that way we know for sure that this plastic trim is not gonna come off. As you can see over here, it's like you drive the plastic, maybe I'm installing them wrong. This one I had to go up higher because I'm not gonna mess with cutting that out. If somebody's looking at the difference between the two of them, I'll just tell them to quit looking. But anyways, this would be good. Just make sure you don't get it up against this area right here, because that is your door trim and that's gonna hit. But right here, it's gonna be just fine. But yeah, so we're just gonna use self-tappers and use our 1/4 inch impact to put them in.
All right, I'm gonna try to close these up and see how it works. Automatically to shut. Okay.
Cool, all right.
Flip that. Pull them out. Expand them. Perfect.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, that wasn't hard at all.
Good deal. All right, so here is the finished product, and I am super impressed with the way that it came out. It's some work. It is definitely some work to get it done, but there's nothing hard about it. The biggest thing is just take your time and, don't be in a hurry. And like I say with a lot of projects, is always like the amount of time that you need for it, so that you're not thinking like, okay, well, I have to be done by like 1 o'clock because we're going to a baseball game or something like that. That's always a bad plan. So do it on days where you don't have anything that you have to do. That way you can take your time and feel good about the job that you did. So, and that's what I feel like we did today as well, even though we would rather be in the pool, especially in this heat. It is crazy. But so, Chrissy, what do you think of the new steps?
I'm gonna try them out.
You gonna try them out? All right, cool.
This is handy.
Yep.
Wipe off the flips.
So that'd be good. Wipe the flips off during the sandy times in Destin at the beach.
Wow. They don't move at all.
So they don't bounce at all.
Not at all. Look at that.
Yeah, that is solid. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Before,
So
as soon as you would walk down, they wiggle a little bit on the way down, but
right.
yeah, that's sturdy. Very nice.
Yep. Yeah, he needs. But anyways,
What do you think?
I think Wally likes him. He's just skipping him right now because he doesn't know what to do. But the biggest thing I think about him, and the reason why you want to get him, is we talked about why we didn't like the other ones when we were in Destin last time. The biggest thing about the original Airstream steps is they're kind of awkward to fold out. Just to reiterate why you'd want to spend your money and time installing this. And then 2, the biggest thing about it is like, so there is 2 steps down, and they're actually far away from the Airstream, because if you look there, they actually step away from the Airstream. The first step on the Airstream was always like just tucked underneath, and because it was just like tucked underneath, it was actually kind of hard to step on it. And then we never really deployed the second step, because the second step always seemed like it was just right off the ground. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like the second step was almost always worthless unless we had like a really uneven,
Yeah, we never utilized it.
Site. And really, we don't really ever travel to those sites. There, at least the step is usually where it needs to be. Yeah. And this does have adjustment at the bottom. So if you do need to like adjust it, because it's kind of in between, like maybe you're a little bit on a hill, then you can pop those in. Now the way I have them, and this is fairly flat here, but I have them all the way out. But like, say if you did have like a hill that was like coming towards you or falling away from you as we watch here, that would give you the opportunity to adjust those up and still have that second step. But it would actually make sense since it actually moves away from the Airstream further. So it's just a safer thing. I always felt like I was gonna miss a step or something. I don't know on the original one. So, yep. And so I hope this video helped you out with the installation of these steps. I think they're definitely worth it, like I said before. And I think, hopefully this helped you. And I'll get the list of materials together and and I'll do some overlays and whatnot. And if you like this video, make sure to like it, because it does take a little bit of time to make the videos and share with you guys what we've learned and the steps, and then kind of pre-hand even trying to make like other, this product kind of better than it was, or safer even. And so I took some time to do that as well. And then make sure to subscribe, because we're always coming out with new videos, and we're going to be going to a lot of different places here in the near future and doing some video reviews of that as well. So you're going to want to see that as well. So I appreciate everybody watching. I hope everybody stays safe and get out there and have some fun.